I don't know. Skating is such like either you got it or you don't. Like either sit down or do it. You know what I mean? Like there's no halfway. Like that's when you get served up. So I feel like training is almost just a mental game. You know, it's not even really like a physical game because I feel like we're all strong. Like we're all super strong skaters. Like as far as like our legs and our abilities, like what we can do. Like everyone's really good at skating. I think it's just mentally. That's who wins the contest. Is who's down to throw it on the line. You know what I mean? Who's down to do the trick that you might 9 out of 10 times probably going to sack the rail. Who's going to do that? And if you make the trick, you're the GOAT. So I think it's more of a mental training. Skating as a sport, I don't think we'll ever call it a sport, like as like the general, like the whole skating community, which is fine because it really can't be a sport because there's really no like objective, you know, like there's no, even like in judging a contest, it's all subjective. Like we say, like you and I can just disagree on someone's style. Like that totally happens with judging. Like you don't think they're arguing up there. Like I would be arguing every trick someone does. I'd be like, nah, but it was like, nah, you know what I mean? So like, to me, it can't be a sport because there's no point system. Like there's no like if I kickflip something and someone else kickflip something, we're gonna get two different scores always. We're never gonna get the same one unless it was like something that was just jacked. Like it was like the craziest kickflip you could do, and they're like, all right, we don't know what to do, so we'll just give them the same score. But other than that, it's so subjective. So, I mean, I understand why they classify it as a sport. It definitely requires the athleticism that many other sports, if not more. You know what I mean? Like it requires a lot, but my training, if you would like to call it that, is going to the skate park the same way I did before I was in the Olympic race and skating street and filming tricks, and nothing changes. It's just like, I'm still trying tricks. I'm still terrified of half the things I try because I'm like always trying to learn something new or like skate switch, which as you know sucks. But yeah, like training is not much. It's not really much different. It's really not different at all. It's just still going to the skate park the same amount of time, same frequency. It's just, I don't know. For me personally, I don't focus on like a specific, like, all right, I'm going into this contest. I need to learn these tricks. I need to do these things. I'm just like, am I comfortable on my skateboard? Am I having a good time while I'm skating? If I can get into that headspace of just being stoked, I can go into a contest and be stoked because there's a lot of factors that will completely burn your stoke out in a contest, and you're not hyped to be a part of it, and you're not hyped to like have to do all the things you do. But for me, my training is like go skate, have fun, do the tricks I like to do, and then do them in the contest and just be hyped. Not like looking at someone else skating and be like, I got to beat that trick, because that is a terrible game to play. That is, you're going to get burnt like almost every time if you start playing someone else's game. Like just do your tricks. Don't steal tricks. Do your tricks. That's how you win a contest. You do what you do, not what he did for points. That ain't cool. We all know that.
It really speaks to that idea that, you know, you can't train for skating and besides skating. Like it's so technical. There's so much that happens on the board that you just can't get anyplace else, and you gotta just do it, and you just gotta put in the time on the board, and that's the way to do it.
Exactly. That's exactly. And it's like, I don't know, like this is a good question for other people. Like, do people go to a skate park and be like, I'm gonna do 100 kickflips, like I'm gonna do like 100 of these? Like, do people train like I don't do that. I'm just like, I'll do one trick and I'm like, oh, that was sick. All right, I'm gonna try this one. I'll probably get smoked, and then I get smoked, and I'm like, oh, all right, maybe I'll try that in like an hour or something. You know what I mean? Like that's the training for me, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I'm curious as to what other people do. If they really take it like that, if they're like, I'm gonna do 1,000 of these until I get it right. I don't know.
Do you consider your like nutrition and like this? I mean, you are technically an athlete, so do you consider any of that stuff in terms of like keeping that energy up, keeping that focus?
Yeah. I do a bit. A lot of like the endurance side of my stuff comes from like I'll hop on the bike and just like cycle, like not stationary. Like I'll go out in the world because I just feel like that's so against skating, is like, dude, you can find spots while you do that. So I just hop on the bike and just go bike around, and that's what I like. That helps me with like the endurance aspect of it, because that is a huge thing. Like in skating a contest, like you need that. Like a lot of dudes would be huffing and puffing and like put pressure on top of that and nerves. Like you crumble. So I'll do that. Nutrition is starting to be a big part of it, just because like I'm 25 now. So a lot of things that I got away with in my younger years, like the way I would eat like a skater per se, is not flying now because I'm doing a lot more and skating a lot more. So I'm definitely like learning how to incorporate nutrition in with this. Even a little bit of like mobility exercises, not so much like weight training, but like banded exercises for like my knees and for like my ankles and stuff, like just simple stuff, just like general maintenance, you know? So I'm starting to get into that world. Not that I was against it, I just didn't know what to do, you know? And I definitely didn't want to bulk up too much to make skating harder. Like I'd rather just stay skinny so that it's like a little easier, you know what I mean?
There was a question that's, what are your go-to meals or nutrition for workouts?
In the morning, like I have milk, like for breakfast and stuff. Like I have just a very traditional, like just East Coast breakfast, you know what I mean? Like you have your milk, orange juice, all that stuff. And then a lot of times I'll like incorporate milk with like some smoothies and stuff for like post-recovery kind of stuff, you know what I mean? That like really helps. And the milk really ties together the whole smoothie and all that, because you know it needs to be like the right consistency. So it's like really, I mean, I'm like pretty new to nutrition. My girlfriend is like really on my head about it, like super on my head, because my diet was like not the best, and she always call it out. She's with me all the time. So I'm definitely like, I'm learning. I'm not gonna act like I'm, nutrition. I'm like a nutrition apprentice right now. Like I'm figuring it out, but I'm doing better. I'm not like hitting like a fast food joint before I go skate, because that is definitely something I used to do all the time. But now I'm trying to just, I'm trying to be smarter. I'm trying to skate longer. Like I want to have the longest career I can. I want to be able to hang with all these younger dudes who can do like 540s and stuff. Like I want to do 540s, so maybe the way they're eating, they could do that. But yeah, for me, it's just like, just starting. I'm starting, and it's growing more and more. Like my nutrition for me is growing. But
I think you kind of answered this, but one of my questions was, how differently do you approach skating a spot or like a trick versus skating a comp line? Do you consider that, like when you're preparing? Is there a difference in preparation?
Kind of, just because a contest is like you do a lot of the same tricks like in your runs and stuff. Like that's everyone kind of has their bag of tricks that they'll do in a run. So you kind of just like make sure you have those. But skating a spot, I feel like you really gotta you're typically trying something new or just something that's scary at the spot. So you're going to the park and you're just like, you go there before the spot. You probably spend way too much time at the skate park. You try the trick, you bail it a bunch of times, you get frustrated. It's a similar process, but I think preparing for a street spot is a lot harder, because it's like, there's just way more element. I think there's a similar amount of elements to skating a spot that there is to skating a contest. Like you can compare the crowd to getting kicked out from a security guard. It's the same type of pressure. It's just in a different way. You know what I mean? And obviously contests are never perfect. They're always, the course is always a lot bigger than it looks, because they have to make it look big for a camera. So things are huge, and that sucks. So it's kind of like going to a spot and you're like, oh, this is not what I thought this was going to be at all. Like I'm actually in for kind of a rude awakening, because I wasn't prepared for this. But no, for a contest, the saying goes, just stay on your board. That is really it. And that is super true with pro contests. Like for the amateur contest, I tell everyone this all the time, like the AM contest, if I can compare it to anything, you got to hit half court shots. That is how you win an AM contest, because they're swinging and they swing in pro contests too. But with the street league format for the contest, it's man, just make your layups and make the free throws. Just do the general, just stay on your board, stay consistent, because in the end, you might only have to do one crazy trick or nothing. You might be set because you just stayed solid. Pro contest, stay solid, skate like a professional skater. AM contest, man, you better swing away, swing as hard as you can. And you might whiff some stuff. You're probably going to whiff it, but if you connect on one of them, it's a home run.
Give me on Olympic skateboarding. Those 10, 20 years ago, nobody would have imagined those words together.
1 year ago, no one would imagine that. You know what I mean? But I like the idea of it. I'm not the type of skater who's going to be so against something that's new. When I came into skating, I was watching things like Rocket Power, or I was playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, which I'm sure at that point, people were like, this is stupid. People Tony Hawk probably got so much hate for that. People probably hated that Nickelodeon did Rocket Power, because they're like, that's not really skating. But to me as a little kid, I didn't know any better. And the beautiful thing about skating is you can get into it in a very general kind of way. But eventually you're going to go to the skate shop. You're going to go meet dudes who do it. They're going to tell you not to order your stuff online. They're going to tell you to go to that skate shop to get your stuff. Like, skateboarding is always going to be like, nah, this is how you do it. And all we need is just to get another kid into skating. It doesn't matter how. What matters is when they're here, we're stoked that they're here, and we just lead them the right way. Like, a lot of people are so against that. Like, they can't see that like the Olympics does have that potential of getting more people into skating, which is gonna just make our industry bigger, and then brands will make more money, pros will make more money. It's just gonna put us on a higher platform to just make more money and be able to live off of skating, which to me, I think that's the coolest thing ever. Whether you agree with the Olympics or not, I think we can all agree we just want skating to survive. And the pandemic was a scary time for skating. Like, we all know that. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know what companies were going to pull out. We didn't know who was going to make money. And the fact that it survived that shows that there's so much interest in skating. Now, what could you imagine is going to happen after the Olympics when there's such more focus on skateboarding? Like, to me, I see benefit. Like, yeah, for the culture, okay, I can see why people don't agree with it, but it's like, for it in general, I think it's going to be good. No matter how you see it, it's going to be good.
I want to get your thoughts on what it means to you to be joining this iconic Got Milk campaign, because you're now on this team.
It's huge to join the Got Milk campaign. They've been super open, and it's amazing that they're this way, but they've been super open to my opinion of skating and like allowing me to be like authentic through it, because as you know, like anything you do that's outside of skating tends to just, they're like, nah, I don't like that. I don't like it because it's not skating. But they've been super open to let me just like express myself like through skating, but also kind of like explain to them the principles of skateboarding, and they're so receptive of it, and they love it, and they're just on board with it. So I'm hyped to be working with a team that's like that. I'm hyped to be working with such open-minded people who really just like allow me to continue to be who I am, but also like be on something that only few skaters have been on. Like, I think the only dudes were like Tony Hawk, Bob Burnquist, and Andy Mack, which are like three of the like biggest dudes. Like, whether you like them or not, they are three of the biggest dudes ever in skating. So for me to be one of like in the company of that's awesome. And to put my mark on that in this day and time where I am in skating, like it's an incredible honor.
Do you remember like seeing the old campaign pieces that Got Milk and the mags and stuff?
If I remember correctly, this is a long time ago, but I remember Bob Burnquist had the glasses. Remember, he used to rock the glasses, and then he had the milk mustache. And I was just like, man, like as a kid, I didn't think of like, you know what I mean? Like how someone was like financially or something. Cause I was a little kid. I didn't care. I was just like, man, he must be like a gazillionaire. Like that's like what I thought. But it was just so cool seeing like, I don't know, back then it was like, you didn't see a lot of skating in the mainstream. And now people hate seeing skating in the mainstream. But when I was a kid, I loved it. I was like, dude, there's like at least a little bit of representation, even if it's whatever. Like, I loved it. So to me, seeing that, I'm like, it was like the same thing as seeing Kareem as the first black dude I saw skate. I'm like, he looks like me. I look like him. I could do it too. And in the same way, like that dude does what I do. He's there. I could be there too. It just gives hope to the younger kids. And I hope that maybe even if one kid looks at me that way because of this campaign or because of the Olympics or skating in general, that my job is done. You can't ask for anything more than to get one person stoked.
What are your parents? What is your grandmother? I know she's a big part of your life. What do they think?
They're stoked. My parents, my grandma, my family, they're hyped. They never gave me any trouble about like skating, because I always went about it with a very like methodical way where I was like, look, I'm doing this. I want to be a professional skateboarder. And they saw that, and they didn't see it as me like just doing this like I was wasting my time. They're like, oh, he really like, he's working hard. Like he wants to do this. Like he loves this. And my dad was always like, he was the type of dad who was like, all right, there's a contest down here. Like, I'm gonna take it. He was that dad. He was never like a skate dad. He wasn't like a coach or nothing, like where he's like, do these tricks. He never said, because he doesn't know skating like that. But he would just be like, all right, cool. We're like, you want to go to the contest? Cool, we're out. Like, your friends want to come too? All right, we're out. Like, he always was down. And like, I remember way back in the day, he would take me and my brother to FDR just because it was like, it's still one of the gnarliest parks you can go to. But as a little kid, you would, sometimes you'd see like Kerry Gets there, like for us, like the local, like the dudes. And I remember he would just like park up his car next to like where you would walk in, where like the big vert wall is and stuff. And I remember he would just be chilling there, blasting his music, like wiping down his car. Like he was just chilling. Like my pops was always supportive. My mom was always supportive. My grandma, I mean, I used to order CCS stuff to her house. So like I used to circle the stuff I want at her house and then ship it to her house. So like they were all on board. They're still on board. They're still super hyped. So my grandma has my board at the house, and my little tech deck, she's like hyped. Like she is so hyped. So yeah, I can't ask for nothing better. Whatever anyone else says, I don't care. As long as me and my people are hyped, hey, there ain't no better than that. It's none better. My name is Maurio McCoy. I am on the United States Olympic skateboarding team, and I'm stoked to be there because it's an incredible opportunity. It's an opportunity that I never thought I'd have, but I'm stoked. I'm here. Like, it's just taking my skating and skateboarding to new heights in a different way, and I'm just hyped to be a part of it.